Hello and welcome to The Ripple Impact, the podcast where we dive into those fascinating small moments, big decisions and unexpected ripples that create waves of change in brands, businesses, leadership and in life. I'm Laura Barber, founder of The Ripple Impact and a global brand strategist who spent over 20 years inside global giants like Coca-Cola, Boots and PepsiCo. And now I work with founders and brand leaders on strategy, positioning and storytelling, helping them turn human stories into brand growth. Each week, I sit down with bold thinkers, change makers, and what we call wave maker guests to explore the ripple moments that have shaped their journeys and the lessons you can take into your own life and your own business. Today, I am so delighted to be joined by Frankie James, co-founder of Ideas Community, a platform built to support, celebrate, and champion entrepreneurs across the UK. Through the Ideas Community, Frankie leads national recognised programmes, including Ideas Fest, the UK Startup Awards, the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and the UK Fast Growth Index. Frankie works at the intersection of creativity, culture, and connection, and is deeply passionate about bringing people together around ideas that spark change. Frankie, welcome to the show. It is so wonderful to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Laura. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So I attended the incredible Ideas Fest, and as soon as I walked onto that field, I was like, I have to get Frankie on my podcast because what you're doing is just incredible and it's so wonderful. And I've already booked my tickets for this year as well. So it was amazing. And we will get to that, I am sure. But at the Ripple Impact, we love to wind back to the beginning and learn the things that really shape people and ultimately take them on the trajectory of where they ultimately got to. So before the events, before Ideas Fest, before everything that you've accomplished and you've been doing, what were the moments that really sparked your creativity, the sense of building a space for people and ideas? When you look back on those early moments in your career, what were the ripple moments and the signals that set you off on the path that you're on now?
Whoa, that's a really big question, which sounds way more glamorous than it was. I used to work for my family owned publication. My dad owned it. It was called Fresh Business Thinking. It was an online resource for business owners, directors and entrepreneurs. And we used to publish thought leadership stories and advice from some of the UK's best entrepreneurs, because we were early in the internet space. It was super easy to get them because everyone was looking to carve out their voice online, and we had a platform for them to do that. So I think that really got my interest in entrepreneurship. I'm not sure I would have known what an entrepreneur was before that, if I'm honest. I don't think I really understood, I guess, the difference between owning a business and being an entrepreneur. Because I think you can own a business without being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is that kind of, it's that thing that you can't really bottle or describe, but it's like that constant challenging the status quo, coming up with new solutions, having ideas at every single minute of the day. That really did interest me and excite me. And then I think I realized that I was unemployable and someone that was willing to work really, really hard. So I didn't go to university. I did eventually, but I didn't go straight away. And I took a job doing door-to-door sales on 100% commission in the South Wales valleys where it rains a lot. And I think that I learned from that I really was driven and motivated to hit targets and goals, that I would be very happy to put in extra effort and time than anybody else because I wanted to succeed. And so I think it's not one thing, it's like a combination of things, but maybe they contribute to me being and doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, incredible. And what was the start that created the idea for all these incredible programs that you run and Ideas Fest? Tell us the journey and the story of how that was created.
I love the Ideas Fest story because we've been running awards programs for many years. So we had the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, which now is in its 14th year. We had the UK Startup Awards, which my partner started actually in Wales and we took across the UK together. The UK Fast Growth Index, which is a national program as well. So across those programs, we had a significant community of business leaders, entrepreneurs, founders, ambitious people who had entered our awards and we'd gotten to know. And we always used to, do events beyond just the awards programs because, well, the awards programs are great and awards evening's fabulous, but you don't really get to dig that deep when you've got, an hour and a half sat next to somebody over a chicken dinner at a nice swanky venue. So we'd always done other events like dinners and, we'd done some conferences and we'd done some workshops and all that sort of stuff. And it was all face to face. And then the pandemic hit. And I remember so clearly when the pandemic hit, just thinking, what on earth does that mean for us? We're about personal connection. We're about face to face. We're about, this sounds really crude, but we're about like an event success often being measured on how many people you can put in a room. And we were told that, the rules kept changing, and I'm in Wales. So the rules I had were probably different to the rules you had. But it was, you can only have 4 people together, or they have to stand, arm's length apart, or you can't come together at all, or all of this stuff. So we really had to question what our business looked like going forward. And we remember back in 2020, we thought that the whole world was going to change forever. And that, there was moments in time where we thought, this is life. This is the new normal, as everyone's saying. So we had to innovate and think, right, well, if we want to survive as a business and we want to carry on doing what we love, how do we do it differently? So we did loads and loads of webinars. I loved them in 2020 because I realized they meant that I could still pay my staff because clients were paying us to run them. We were quite good at them. We definitely saw that we galvanized community. But by the end of 2021, I think I wanted to gouge my eyes out the thought of doing another webinar. And attendance numbers dived off a cliff, right? Because they weren't that exciting anymore. So I thought, we got to do something different. What can we do? And at that time, I was in loads of event organizer WhatsApp groups, and people were saying that outdoor events were more likely to return than indoor events. And I think really the seed was planted, although that never, ever happened. I love festivals. My team love festivals. We love entrepreneurs. We thought, what happens if we marry the two? Let's give it a go. Let's be entrepreneurial ourselves and launch it and see what happens.
Yeah, amazing. And did you have the Glastonbury for Business right from the beginning, or has that evolved? Because it's a genius way to crystallize the magic of what you do at these events.
Yeah, there's about 5 or 6 people who told me that they came up with that. I got no idea who actually came up with it. I'm very grateful that they did, and I wish I'd come up with it from day one because I didn't. I wasn't that clever, but it really does do what it says on the tin. But at the same time, I think Glastonbury for Business can terrify someone who doesn't feel like they're a festival person. So we always have to kind of put a little side note to say, don't worry, we're not as big as Glastonbury. You're not going to have to traipse 4 hours to find your tent.
Yeah.
You're not going to, the toilets aren't as bad and the food queues aren't as bad. It's just a general vibe of Glastonbury that everyone knows, but for entrepreneurs. And actually, people have given us titles that I think are not necessarily as striking, but I think mean more to me. So there's somebody said it's like the annual pilgrimage for entrepreneurs. I love that. And that's great for me because if people want to come back every year, then it just should get slightly easier every year if more people say that. And then the nicest one, someone said it's the most welcoming field of ambitious people that you'll ever walk into. That nails it for me. And that is what I think I'm most proud of that someone has said about Ideas Fest.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I just love the openness and the energy and the dynamism of it, and just the connections and the conversations that you have with people. You're never going to know. You never know who you're going to sat next to, who you're going to meet, who you're going to bump into, and the conversations and the connections that are built off that. I've built a client out of the Ideas Fest. I've had people on my podcast that I met on Ideas Fest. It's created such amazing conversations through this, such a sense of collaboration and the clashing and colliding of ideas, creating something even bigger, which is incredible. It is a ripple. It is absolutely a ripple. So tell us about what people can expect for Ideas Fest in 2026.
So our biggest announcement was that we're moving venues. We're not moving very far, literally 1.5 miles or so up the road, but it's to an iconic venue. So Champneys, we're on the grounds of Champneys in Tring, and I couldn't be more delighted. It's big. It gives us a lot of room to grow. We won't use it all this year. And it's special. So people who are staying on site get to enjoy the spa facilities and, meander around in between talks in their white robes. I just think it's another dimension. So that's the venue. More people, but more going on. So I think what's interesting about Ideas Fest is we say 6,000 people, which there will be,
Mm.
but there's so many big stages, small stages, workshop tents that it doesn't feel like you're never all sort of standing looking at the same
Yeah.
stage. Everyone does it in their own way. And some people like to dive in and embrace the whole festival and, get to every talk they can and go to, indulge in the music and enjoy, every little eclectic bit of it. Some people stick to their zone of comfort, the bit that really
Mm.
speaks to them. And that could be, we've got this year, we're going to have a startup zone, we're going to have a scale up zone. There's lots of zones and stuff, and everyone can find their people and their tribe and their content. And I can't wait. But also, September is going to come up really quickly, and I want it to slow down.
It is going to come really quickly. And like you said, there's so many different spaces at Ideas Fest. And whether that's you're in the big tent hearing from Rory Sullivan, or you are in the unapologetic tent hearing loud, bold, incredible voices. It was just such a space for just the most incredible conversations that you would never normally have at an event like that. I mean, I've been to so many conferences, events, networking things in my time, and it genuinely feels like a different space for
Yeah.
different conversations and genuine connections as well, and not, as you said, kind of passive meetings when you're getting a coffee in between the talks. There's genuinely space for discussion and debate and conversation, which I think really kind of pulls it apart from anything I've certainly experienced.
Yeah, I agree. I think people turn up as themselves, not their business, right? So
Yeah.
we had some people saying, are you going to do lanyards? And I said, no, I think that just completely sucks the
Mm.
festivalness out of it. I want to meet you in the field, Laura, and connect over the fact that you're wearing something sparkly, or you're laughing at the same joke, or you're running from the rain, or you've got an amazing curry in your hand. And I'm thinking, which trader did you get that from? And I want to connect with you and then find out what you do. Because what you
Mm.
do is only a part of you. But I think that when you're
Yeah.
at a business event, the natural intro is, hey, I'm Frankie. What do you do? And actually, it's such a bad question, right?
Mm.
At Ideas Fest, you end up talking to people about what excites you, what's keeping you awake at night, what next adventure you're going on, like all of that stuff. And I think that the festival feel of the event allows for people to turn up as themselves and
Yeah.
not just be the person that runs a business and, put in a box.
Yeah, and also as well, like you say, it's not about the polish, it's about the honesty, and it's the highs and the lows and the challenges, and just getting an opportunity to share with like-minded people that are in similar or different boat, but get it.
Yeah.
And you can have really fantastic conversations that help each other, which is a fantastic space for you for people to be in, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, thank you for the compliments.
So you work with creatives, you work with founders, you work with leaders from all walks of life who are navigating through the noise, through the pressure, through the uncertainty. From where you sit, what do you think is getting in the way of some of the brave thinking right now, and what is helping founders really unlock it? What are the kind of conversations that you're hearing in the big tents, the small tents, the dinners? You come across so many entrepreneurs. We'd love to get a little inside track on what's hot in creativity and leadership and these brave conversations that founders and entrepreneurs are having.
I think that it's important to point out that what I have learned from all of the events that we run, and probably particularly from the smaller events when we do like a round table dinner and we bring 20 really successful entrepreneurs together. What is fascinating is when they drop their guard and talk to you about how they actually feel about things and how they actually experience chapters in their business journey,
Mm.
is that everybody is winging it. Everybody is working it out as they go along. Nobody goes in very, very few people go into business understanding everything that they're going to
Mm.
encounter on the path
Mhm.
ahead. And I've had the absolute pleasure, and I obviously won't name names because that would be rude. But I've had the pleasure of spending time with some extraordinary entrepreneurs who we'd all know, and they've been really honest with me and said, at this point in time when everything looked big and amazing and shiny, I was going through this inside. I was in turmoil. I didn't know which way to turn. I, thought I'd made the worst decision ever. I didn't trust myself. I had imposter syndrome. So I find that quite amazing. And I think that when you create environments allow people to share that way, it's super special and reassuring, because everyone gets imposter syndrome and we think that everybody else is just absolutely bossing it, which is not the case. And obviously, you asked what's the hot topic. I can't walk into a room right now without AI dominating the conversation. And I must admit, I think I am reasonably savvy. I'm not a tech person by any means, but I keep my ears and my eyes open enough to have a vague idea of what's going on. But that said, there's a few things, that conversations that I've been a part of or things that I've read or seen in the last week that make me realize that while I do have my finger on the pulse a little bit, I'm still like a dinosaur when it actually comes to the art of the possible, because it's going to change every single thing that we do. You know, how we communicate, how we manage staff, what tasks we do, how they get performed, how quickly they happen, how we make user experience, but you know, everything, like absolutely every single facet of our lives will be changed by AI.
Yeah, it's incredible how it will become so woven into the fabric of every single day-to-day life and every single task, which is kind of terrifying but so exciting. And I love of what you just said is that there's such a juxtaposition between what you just said of almost the humanness of these events in these spaces, where, as you said, people are dropping their guard, they're taking the mask off, they're taking the straitjacket off, and having really honest conversations about what it's like and the pressures and the challenges and the realities. And in the same breath, we're in a world of AI where the world is completely changing and how we do it is completely changing. And my hope is that we will very quickly become excellent at integrating it in our day-to-day lives, so we can become more human and allow more time for the connection, for the conversations, for empathy, for vulnerability, for emotion, and the space and time where the human skills are so important and so powerful and can drive connection and can do things that AI can never do. And a lot of the space that you create allows for that very thing to happen. I would love us to become more human in a world of AI.
We will. I think that naturally, you know, people dive into AI, and as we look, you know, if we watch the LinkedIn feed, you can see that everything's AI generated and it's all soulless and this, that, and the other. I don't think that'll last very long. I think it's actually already sort of dying out. People noticing it. People are consciously stepping away, saying, "I'm not going to let that be my brand voice. I'm not going to use it to craft comms or what have you." I think that with the rise of AI, which, as we know, it is going to take over every part of our lives, personal and business, people will be seeking out events and human connection more than ever. I'm really excited to be in this space now, as it becomes even more important. And I think that, you know, when harnessed correctly, artificial intelligence can, we were talking before, weren't we, about, you know, I said I feel just completely flat out, but by a lot of monotonous tasks. And if I can enable technology to do that for my team and for me, gosh, I might have time for a hobby. You know, I might have time to be more human, more present, more fun. So yeah, that's very, very much where I'd like to see a relationship going with AI.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you were talking, I was hearing the parallels when e-com just absolutely took off, you know, many, many years ago, when e-com really took off and everyone was like, retail's dead. And it's like, no, actually, people love the experience of retail. If you can get that right and it be so immersive and human and conversation and exploratory. In retail, you can explore and you can learn and you can touch and you can feel. And it's a completely different immersive experience in retail that it is in e-com. And I feel similar with this, where AI will have such a benefit, but only for so far. That, as you said, there will be this need for connection and conversation and time together to explore in a way that you can never ever do online.
Totally. And I do think that, you know, as event organizers, we have to be really, really on our toes, because a lot of events could now be a podcast or could be just a bit of content, and we're not short of content. I always say this, not as a disservice to the speakers, because the speakers are incredible. But you talked about like Rory Sutherland. He is amazing. I devour all of his content, all of his books. But is the best way for me to learn from Rory Sutherland to sit in the back of a big top and watch him? Probably not. It's probably to listen to his audiobooks, to maybe to use AI to ask questions of an
Yeah.
artificial Rory, which I'm sure exists somewhere, you know,
There will be soon if it isn't already.
yeah, but why do I come to Ideas Fest? It's because I can be in an enjoyable, fun environment. I can be sat
Mm.
next to you and we can be talking about the experience that we have had together in a way that is compelling enough for me to get away from my
Yeah.
screen and get away from my business for a bit. So we have to be, as event organizers, super on our toes as to why would you come to an event anymore?
Yeah.
You can get the content online.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really interesting because I would love a space where could you imagine if you did a Rory Sutherland little boutique thing where you can go and you can ask him questions about your business and you can learn and you can play around and this idea of a live case study where founders can bring their business, their problems, their questions and live test things out and play around with things. Because as you said, listen to so much content and consume so much content, but it's in the conversations where the richness is. And that's always the challenge because with 6,000 people, you can't do that for everyone. So it's how you create these little pockets of immersive experience that you could never get through a podcast or a webinar.
That's me. That's what I'm doing between now and September.
Yeah. Amazing. What conversations do you think are going to be coming up in the 2026 Ideas Fest? So there's some big themes that you can share with us, some big conversation topics that you're happy to share, or is it all too secret and too soon?
Look, I think there's no denying AI is going to dominate a lot of conversations. We didn't have anywhere near enough last year, and
Mm.
people are crying out for it. It's obvious to some industries how AI will disrupt and help you innovate. It's not obvious to all. So I think that people are going to come looking for solutions. How can I not get left behind? How can I make sure I'm doing the stuff that's going to get me my time back, or that's going to make my business more efficient or more profitable? That's going to make me, I don't know, give me time to focus on the things that I love. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think that they're going to be some of the most interesting talks at Ideas Fest.
Mm.
And we've got loads of amazing in conversation with entrepreneur, discussions where we're digging deep into the story of somebody. And I think what's unique about Ideas Fest is we've had speakers be really raw and emotional on stage and actually share what actually happened, not the polished,
Yeah.
posturing PR version.
Hmm.
And like last year, one of the most popular talks was when 4 founders talked about when they realized it was time for them to step down as CEO. Not an easy conversation to have. And these founders were so brave and so honest with how they shared it. And they just said, you have to let your ego go. It was emotional. I was heartbroken. I was watching someone else walk my baby off into the distance and I had absolutely zero control, but I made a decision that I knew was right for the business and for my staff and for my customers and for the longevity of what we're building. So conversations like that, so conversations that dig beneath the surface is
Yeah.
what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic because as you said, then a lot of social media platforms are there for the polish and the show and the publication and the sharing of opinions and news and achievements. And isn't this incredible? Which is lovely. And there's an absolute space for that. But I think, and it's like with human connections, right? The more vulnerable you are, the more you share, the more people connect with you, more people relate to you. And I think that is so true in business too. It is hard being a founder. If you're a solo founder, it's difficult, it's lonely, it's vulnerable. You're doing everything yourself. Like I've only been in this world for 6-7 months
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, you do everything. Every single little thing of the business you do. And a lot of it, you're figuring it out as you go. You're learning on the fly. Something new will pop up and you're like, I don't know where to even start with this. And thank God we've got our lovely friend AI to help us
Yeah.
because it helps you with knowing where to start. But you need space, you need communication, you need camaraderie from people that get it, that
Absolutely.
understand it, that have been there before you, that have gone through the same mistakes and the hurdles and go, I get you, I see you, I feel it. Have you thought about this? Speak to this
Absolutely.
person. Have you, what about this? And like, because there's so much out there that people don't even see.
Yeah.
So this ability to connect in these spaces, to learn from each other is so powerful. And you don't get that on platforms. You just don't.
We're just drowning in it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you can look someone in the eye and you can actually have a real conversation, you can be open, you can be honest. I think the important thing for me about Ideas Fest as well is that I think people think that the speakers and VIPs are like the most valuable attendees. They're not. They add an enormous amount to the mix. But why do they come? Why do they give up their time? Because they love being inspired by earlier stage businesses. Because
Yeah.
they all tell me that when you get to the point where you've got 200 employees, or you've exited, or you've stepped down as CEO, it's not as fun as it was when you were in that startup stage, when you are literally bending over backwards, running a million miles an hour to solve a problem because you are passionate, because you believe, because you've spotted an opportunity, you've spotted a gap. So what I really like about Ideas Fest is how different attendees kind of fill up the cups of other groups of attendees. And it's
Yeah.
not one way. Like some of the speakers, some of our top speakers, really well-known people, said the best things they heard were when they heard like a startup pitching, and then they went to grab them after to say, oh, I can help you with this, or I can introduce you to that, or in some cases invest, because we know that over 4.5 million was raised in the field, and that was not raised via pitch competitions on stage. That was people meeting, and actually that's only the stuff I know about. We're going to get so much better at tracking it, but that's only the stuff where somebody has messaged me and said, hey, I met my now investor at Ideas Fest. They've just closed they've just put 250,000 into the business. And I've had multiple messages like that. And like, it blows my mind. It's why we do it. I don't think we knew that's why we do it, but like, it's such a driver for us.
I love that. And what you're talking about as well, of the big presenters and the people that come and share their incredible wisdom and what they've done and their achievements. And actually it's the moments of the startups, because I feel that too. The thing that really struck me about it was the energy. And I think that comes from so much passion, so much ambition, so much drive, so much tenacity and dynamism, and just roll up your sleeves and get on with it and let's go. And that looks interesting. Let's follow that. Like, there's such a dynamism and energy in those types of people, and you get them all together. It is contagious. Like, energy is such a contagious thing, and it just grows and it builds, and the possibilities that will have come out of that field is just amazing. It's quite addictive. Like, you must feel that, because I was like, I'm definitely coming back next year, because my brain is buzzing with ideas and possibilities, and also a sense of, I've got this, I can do this. Like, yes, it's hard, and someone else has said yes, it's hard too, and that's okay, because you're in the same world.
And you've
And
got a few people, you've increased your tribe. You've got a few people that you can call when
exactly.
things are really hard or tricky, or you're at a
Yeah.
crossroads. You said contagious, then it makes me laugh, because there was one video where I think it was Simon Squibb had a quote, and he said, it's like an infection that you want to have. And it made so much sense in the context of the video. But someone in my team pulled it out and put it as a quote on the site without the video. And I was like, I don't think that we want people to be reading the first thing they read about Ideas Fest is, it's an infection you want to have. I thought, probably not. Let's stick with Glastonbury for business, right?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. But it's true. It is infectious, and I think that's what makes people want to come back, and and have more, which is amazing.
But honestly, I do not take for granted like the lovely things that people say about Ideas Fest. I feel very, very fortunate that we're in this position, that we've created something that's captured people's imaginations, that they really love, that we've got fans of, and that we can make a difference,
Yeah.
So we love it.
Oh, amazing. Like, you create such impact through the work that you do. But what I also love is that your impact goes beyond business into causes that make a real difference to people around the world. And I would love to talk about our India adventure that we are about to go on together. So on Saturday, I am flying out to India and joining you and Emma Sale and many, many other incredible female founders for the most amazing, epic Indian adventure for charity. Can you tell our listeners and our YouTube watchers about the incredible adventure we are about to go on, why it means, what it does to you, and what impact we're going to have?
Yes, I absolutely can. So we are going to be driving rickshaws from Chennai to Goa, which is about 1,200 kilometers across India. I did it last year. and I'm going back again. So last year we took 50 founders. This year we're taking another epic cohort, all women. And it is incredible because I'd never been to India before. I knew I'd love it. I fell completely head over heels in love with everything about India, the food, the people, the scenery. I saw things that, like landscapes, I don't know why, I just didn't expect to see in India. And I was, I was like a kid in a sweet shop, just loving every minute of it, driving along, except for the Bangalore traffic. But we started it. It started off just as a bit of a, oh, this looks fun. Let's give it a go. And Emma had done a trip before, and I said, I really want a bit of adventure. Would you be up for doing another one? Let's get a few people together. I don't really drink anymore, but I did when we conceived the idea the first time, because I think glass of wine 1, it was let's go to India. Brilliant. Glass of wine 2 was let's take loads of female founders. By the end of bottle number 1 or 2, it was 50 founders. And I think we'd already set up the WhatsApp group. And the reason it's so interesting that it's female founders is, one, we're there on International Women's Day, which is awesome. And again, I didn't realize how big International Women's Day was in India. We were being pulled over. We were being asked to be in photos. Everyone was greeting us, shouting, hello, happy International Women's Day. It was amazing. But the reason that it's so unique and special in India as well is, like, I won't get the percentages right, but there are so few female drivers in comparison to male drivers. And when you look at, they call them auto rickshaws, or we know them as tuk-tuks. It's like, and it's not even a percent, it's like 0.5% or something. Couple that with the fact that we are mainly white Western women, and we are doing this on our own. We are yanking the, I don't even know what you call it, the lever. We are, using hair bobbles if something comes off in the back of the engine. We are filling up the oil with a funnel. We are stopping traffic and, navigate. Like it's mad. But you just learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about how you work with other people. You create friendships and bonds and trust for life. And you do so whilst also raising money for some great causes. And to me, like, that just is tick, 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 tick.
Absolutely.
So you're going to love it.
Oh, do you know what? I'm so excited. And I somehow missed the memo for last year, because if I don't know how, but if I'd have seen it last year, I'd been like, I am so on this. So as soon as it came out, I was like, as you said, this ticks every single box, for so many reasons. We'll be there for International Women's Day. I think it's actually on the final day when we'll hopefully all cross the finish line, is International Women's Day. And what an incredible thing to do, and actually have impact. The danger with International Women's Day, it becomes a hashtag, whereas actually what this is doing, and this is exactly why I wanted to sign up, is this is actually driving impact in local communities in India, and incredible female founders all flying out to do something amazing for International Women's Day. What an incredible thing to do. You add on top of that India and tuk-tuks and highways and cows on the motorway and navigating and sat-naving each other to the finish line. Is going to be
mad.
such an epic adventure. It's totally mad. I told some people that I was doing it. My friend who is from India, and he said, what? He was like, you're doing what? Why?
Have you got your international driving license yet?
I have.
Okay,
I have.
So you're more organized than me, but when I got it, because you it's so easy to get, it's scary that you have to have a British driving license. You literally just go to the post office and give them some photos, and about £6 and you have an Indian driving license.
I know, it's mad.
The guy behind the counter was Indian in the post office I went to, and he just kept on laughing at me. And I was walking into the unknown, a bit like you are, but hopefully you can have comfort in the fact that I loved it so much that I'm going back. It is amazing.
I have no doubt that it's going to be epic. And actually, when I went to pick up my international driving license, the gentleman was actually from Chennai, because he said, oh, where are you going? Like, I said, oh, India, because obviously they need to know where you're going. And his whereabouts was like Chennai to go. And I told him all about it. And he was like, this is amazing. He was like, you need to come back and tell me and show me all the photos. He was like, maybe I can sponsor you next year. I've just set up my business. I can't this year, but next year, come and tell.
Yay.
So the support that we are getting for what we're doing is amazing, and it's just such a wonderful thing to do, and I cannot wait for it. It's going to be difficult, I'm sure. It's going to be epic, it's going to be mad, but oh my gosh, it's going to be worth it, and I just cannot wait for it. So
Absolutely.
well done to you and Emma for creating such an incredible thing. And I just cannot wait to be part of it. So thank you. And on behalf of the charity, thank you for setting it up, because I know that they're already doing incredible things. And what we raised this year, we will put the donation links in all the different channels in the podcast, in the YouTube description. So if you can donate, please do, because it's such an incredible cause. So I am so excited. So excited.
Let's
So
go.
let's go it. Exactly. Our final question that we ask everyone on the Ripple Impact. So we call our wonderful guests wave makers, because they are making waves on the industry, on the world, and on people and culture, and of course on charities too. What advice would you give to aspiring wave makers?
Gosh, the biggest piece of advice I could give anybody is to ask, and to ask people, because what always surprises me and what I love to see is how generous people are with their time and with their expertise and with their experience and with their emotional support if needed to people who are maybe one rung down the ladder than they are. I think there is so much generosity in community, and particularly if we look at, the entrepreneur landscape, like you mentioned earlier, we all know how hard it is, and it surprises me all the time how willing to help people are.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, everyone's got their own time constraints, and there would be some things that you can't possibly, step in and help with. But where time allows, when there's an opportunity to do so, people are generous and generally want to cheerlead other people doing amazing things. And if you're not finding that, you're in the wrong rooms, because there's a lot of amazing, incredible people out there, and you just got to go and find them.
Oh, it's such wonderful advice. And that lovely saying is, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Absolutely. There's a young entrepreneur that we both know that, he's considerably younger than me, and he is so confident, and he just asks. And I think that when we get a bit older, we forget that we can be cheeky and we can just ask that question, because what's the worst that can happen is they say no. But actually what Sam tends to get is more yeses than nos.
Yeah.
And so I need to take a leaf out of his book and just go and ask more.
Yeah, it's incredible advice. Frankie James, thank you so much for taking us under the hood of the Ideas Fest story and this lovely conversation. I am so excited for India. I will see you in Chennai on Sunday. Your work is such a reminder that ideas don't live in isolation. They are in people, they're in conversations, they're in asking the question, they're in brave conversations in fields. So thank you so much for Ideas Fest. It's such an incredible space for founders, for entrepreneurs, and business people in general. If you just want to be surrounded by incredible, ambitious, brilliant, smart, questioning, curious people that will help you, Ideas Fest is such an incredible space. So check it out if you haven't already. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you ever so much, Laura. Appreciate it.
And if you're looking to elevate the human storytelling of your brand, please get in touch with us at Ripple Impact so we can see how we can help your business grow. That is a wrap on this Ripple episode. Tune in weekly for more bold voices and inspiring wavemaker guests, just like Frankie. I'm Laura Barber. This is the Ripple Impact. We will see you all next week from India. Thank you, Frankie.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.